Happy Saturday, everybody. It's Mike, and I recorded a whole new episode last night. I was totally ready to release it, and then I was listening back to the audio, and I realized that there was some kind of major technical problem. It's the first time I've recorded a studio show in about a month, and I don't know, I think I unplugged something in that month, and it just totally messed with all of my settings. So basically on last night's show, whenever I was talking and I had music playing in the background, whether or not it was faded up on the mixer, whether or not I could hear it or not, just music completely overwhelmed my audio. And so I didn't think that would be a very pleasant show for you to listen to. But nevertheless, I did talk a lot last night about Joe Bob Briggs, who I'm sure I'm going to be going into detail when I play you this encore episode from 2014, back with my wife and Jessica. My wife, Jessica, and I, we took a trip up to Nashville, Indiana to see this horror hosting icon in person. And so this was several years before he made a big comeback on the Shudder streaming channel where he would host horror movies. And last night I kind of wanted to do a commemorative episode, just something to commemorate the final episode of Joe Bob's most recent season on Shudder. And so I was talking all about him, leading all the way up until when I actually watched him live last night, and I played you. I was on the show, actually watching and kind of giving a little bit of a commentary to his show. And so it was a really good episode. When it finished, I was really proud of it. And then I listened back to it, and it was just like unlistenable. So in any case, I'm going to leave you with this encore from, as I said, 10 years ago, August of 2014, when I met Joe Bob Briggs in person. I met him several times since then, and now that he's on Shudder, he's kind of gotten too big to be doing events where a guy like me, just an innocent guy like me from Birmingham, Alabama, can talk to him. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this show, and I'll see you next week here in the studio. Hopefully I'll get everything figured out by then. Okay.
Do you see some anomaly in your Coca-Cola? Are you looking at the Coca-Cola bottle that says, "Share a Coke with Mike"? Be careful there. Are you looking really close? Are there any specks of dirt in it floating around there in the syrupy blackness? Ooh. Could the urban legend be true? Yeah, what was that urban legend? What was the basis for that? That, they've got all these Coke bottles out right now. You get these in cans. I think this was just the bottles. And it says "share a Coke with." And then it has somebody's name, and if the name is too obscure, like "share a Coke with Josiah" or something like that. It just says "share a Coke with your BFF" or whatever. But some of them have names on them. And, of course, one of the names is Mike, or Michael. And that's my name, if you didn't know. Yeah, there was an urban legend going around, just this weird rumor that all of the Coca-Cola bottles that said "share a Coke with Michael" were recalled because they had dirt in them. They had some kind of there was some kind of a mix-up at the Coca-Cola bottling plant in Atlanta, or wherever Coke is made. Is it only made in Atlanta? I mean, I know that's where John Pemberton started Coca-Cola, but is it... I mean, they surely make it somewhere else. I mean, not all the Coke in the world is made, like, in one place. But I guess that's where they have their headquarters. So yeah, they were all, like, oh, we got dust in it. We have to recall them all. Well, it turns out it was an urban legend. So, if you want to, you can now share your Coke with me. I don't have a Coke right now. I actually have a beer. So there it is right there. Opening. I'm probably more likely to have dirt in this cheap beer here than than a Coca-Cola. Oh, yes. Well, welcome to the Midnight Citizen Show. I'm your host, Mike Booty. No dirt in this show. Alright. The Midnight Citizen Show. Trust us. This is all made up. Yeah, and this is going to be the only place you can come to all week that isn't Shark Week or some variation on that. Some ironic twist on the theme. Yeah, I don't know. It's like cable TV is like really quiet, you know, for like about a year. And then like Shark Week hits the Discovery Channel and everybody loses their shit. Over educational reality TV, you know. I personally have never watched Shark Week. I think I would find it interesting. I just, it's just weird how everybody in the world starts talking about it. I mean, sharks are very interesting creatures, but it's just this thing that's been promoted so heavily, and everybody just starts talking about it, you know, toward the end of the summer every year. Shark Week. You know, and like Comedy Central is, you know, doing its own Shark Week, except they call it like Shart Week. So, you know, like a shart, like, which is a combination of a shit and a fart. So it's very classy. Comedy Central. I remember in the 90s when Comedy Central used to show like The Odd Couple. And yeah, like Penn Jillette would come on and was like, coming up next, it's another episode of The Odd Couple, right here on Comedy Central. You know, and yeah, they I don't know, Comedy Central used to be kind of, you know, like innocent, just like, and now they're showing like Shark Week. It's like whatever they can do to pull in viewers. I guess it was like South Park that kind of changed the landscape for Comedy Central. They were very fledgling until that show came on. It's hard to remember some of the pre-South Park shows on Comedy Central. There was like, I don't know. That was where Mystery Science Theater started. It was, yeah, they started when it was called the Comedy Channel, and that was before I actually I got basic cable package that allowed me to have Comedy Central along with the Sci-Fi Channel and E! Entertainment. That's usually what I would flip between channels 43, 44, and 45. Would be the E! Channel, Sci-Fi Network, and Comedy Central, respectively. 46 would be Cartoon Network. Let's see if I can keep going with this. 48. Was that the History Channel? Did I have the History Channel in my basic cable package? 49, I don't know what that was. 50 was like a golf channel, something. 51, 52, have no idea. 53 was TV Land. 54 was Bravo. Channel 33 was MTV, Channel 29 was VH1, Channel 27 was the Disney Channel. And I'd just be like on constant loop of those shows all day long. But yeah, Comedy Central, I don't remember, they had the Daily Show, but that was right It was like a year before South Park started. South Park started when I was a freshman in high school, so 1997. And Craig Kilborn was hosting The Daily Show at that time. I think they had this show called Beat the Geeks. Was that a was that a pre-South Park show? That was a show where they had like these 4 experts, these 4 like quote-unquote geeks. And people would come on and there'd be like a host who would ask them these questions, and each of the geeks, experts. So there would be like a film geek or a music geek. I remember they had like a Playboy geek. I remember the Playboy geek's famous line was, I collect 3 copies of each Playboy, one for autographs. What was it? One for autographs, one for display, and one for pleasure. And then later on, they actually had a South Park geek. So it may have started before South Park, but it carried on over for like a couple of years. I don't know. I think it may have been post South Park, but yeah, they would have that on, and there was like this schlubby guy was like the host of the show, and then they had like, of course, this really hot supermodel who would like talk to the geeks, and the big joke was that it was the closest to like a woman like that any of the geeks would ever come. So it was like embracing geekdom, but at the same time putting it down and putting them in their proper place on the television there. So that was a show I used to watch all the time. What am I talking about? Comedy Central. Yeah, we were talking about Shark Week. Again, something I've never watched, so I really don't have anything to say about it, except that it just takes over the culture. I was at work this week, and people were just bombarding me talking about that show. I think they said they had watched it, and they were trying to... There was some show on there where they were trying to test the theory, or urban legend, kind of like the dirt being in the Coca-Cola. There's this old urban legend that if you flap your arms in the water, that attracts great white sharks. It's like ringing the dinner bell, Ringing the dinner bell. God. I haven't been here in 2 weeks. I'm having a hard time getting back into this, so just stay with me. So yeah, they put... I don't know. I guess they rigged up a robot or something that could like flap against the water and kind of like make a swimming gesture, like the average American swimmer does. And then they would put a sea turtle next to it that would just kind of tread the water. And apparently the shark went after the sea turtle. So this is why I don't watch Shark Week. I don't want to see stuff like that. Like, I know that sharks got to eat, and they're at the top of the food chain when you're talking about the ocean, but I really don't want to watch this defenseless little animal be thrown into the water for the express purpose of proving a point. It just doesn't seem like good entertainment to me. I don't know. See, I just have this like empathy gene in me. I empathize with the pain and suffering of living creatures, and I don't want to sit there and just watch some poor defenseless creature being thrown into a cage only to be devoured and eaten. I mean, I know it happens, and I know that it's necessary for the circle of life and for the continued spinning of the planet, but it just... just because you eat the steak doesn't mean you want to meet the cow. I don't know. I like burying my head in the sand for things like that. Sorry. So I was talking with these people who were explaining the whole sea turtle thing that they saw in Shark Week. And I just like remembered this very random thing. When I'm talking to people, I don't know, just these things come into my head, these memories. And it was about my best friend Clayton from middle school, who actually just found out that he was going to be a father. So congratulations, Clayton Mazel Tov. I haven't really talked to him in a while. He was one of these guys I went to school with who kind of went the... You know, everybody in school kind of starts out at one level and then they fall into cliques in high school. And even though I taught to Clayton all the way up until the end of high school and we kind of fell out of touch with each other in college, he was one of those guys that went the good old boy route, you know. I don't think he went to college. I think he may have had a semester at Jeff State, the community college. But yeah, he definitely, he ended up spending most of the time that I spent in college, most of his early 20s, you know, kind of in pool halls and all that, and got married really young, and, you know, and just went the blue collar route, you know. Like he was working in a factory last I talked to him, like in some kind of a warehouse, driving those pallet jacks around. But I see him every once in a while on Facebook. But this guy Clayton, poor guy, in middle school in the 8th grade, in science class, the assignment was to research a different animal of the sea. And, of course, everybody... You know, kind of like Reservoir Dogs, where everybody wants to go after the color black. Everybody wants to be Mr. Black, you know, to be the most ominous. Everybody in class wanted to go for the shark. You know, unlike Reservoir Dogs, they didn't exclude the color black because everybody wanted to be that color. You know, they just put the shark into the hat, and everybody got to, you know, pick from the hat. So everybody wanted shark. Everybody was obsessing over getting shark because obviously there was going to be the biggest wealth of material on sharks that would also be entertaining to them. Very few people want to research a jellyfish. I mean, they want to research the biggest, baddest monster in the sea they can find. And Clayton gets shark. And everybody's really envious. Oh, Clayton, you got your work cut out for you, haha, and this is going to be really hard. So everybody's in the library just cringing over their research about, I don't know, snapping turtles and freshwater algae or whatever. And Clayton's there reading all these really cool, like, I Spy books about sharks and stuff. You know, the snakes of the sea, I guess. They're the most, you know, snakes are really fascinating on land, and sharks are kind of like that because they're predatory and they're really big, and they make movies about them. So Clayton gets shark, and the assignment, you know, takes we have about a weekend to do research, and then we have to do our projects the following Thursday and Friday. Everybody has to get in front of the class and give a speech about it and read all these interesting facts that were just pulled basically right out of the, you know, first few pages of the book. And so everybody's going and just kind of lumbering through their reports. Everything's really boring. And then Clayton gets up to the front of the room, and everybody's really interested about what he has to say about sharks. And Clayton's giving us some information, like great white sharks. They made that movie Jaws about a shark, and all this kind of random routine information, and that everybody's finding really fascinating. And then Clayton gets to the ways that you can ward off a shark. And Clayton says the best way to get a shark, if a shark comes up and tries to attack you, the best way to get him to go away is with a good, clean punch. So everybody's like, what are you talking about? Everybody's like, this murmuring spreading through the room. I remember this really well because I'm in the back of the class thinking the same thing. Like, what did he just say? He's like, yes, the best way to ward off a shark is with a punch or a tap. And everybody's just getting this image of like people, like a swimmer on a surfboard with like a boxing glove, just trying to go to town on the shark, just like rah, 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 you know, going against this shark with these massive, gigantic 6-inch teeth. Like, how is that going to scare a shark, you know? And everybody just starts laughing at him. And I'm sorry, I'm included in that. Yeah, it's really bad. But yeah, we're all laughing at Clayton. We're just kind of like, you can't scare a shark away with a punch, Clayton. And Clayton starts, I wouldn't say tearing up, but he starts kind of retreating into just this shell of a man, just being like, if he was a turtle, he would just be a shell, you know, just right there on the ground laying in front of us. And Clayton runs out of the room and just leaves us with just kind of these giggles, and the teacher is right there at the desk. Coach Meadows is right there just saying, okay, let's all give Clayton a round of applause, as he just leaves the room. And Coach Meadows didn't know either. Well, come to find out, you can actually punch a shark and it'll go away. I mean, I don't know if that's ever been done, but it has been. That's what's been documented. That's the evidence. Everybody knows that now. I don't know if anybody's ever punched a shark and lived to tell about it. I guess it's on Shark Week. Nobody ever talks about it, but I did research it. It is true. So I guess somebody had to have done it at some point. I don't know. And, yeah, Clayton got, I mean, you can't really blame everybody, because he was a little bit of he was a little dense sometimes. He's a good guy, but I think when he was about 18 years old, he went and got a tattoo, and he asked the tattoo guy at the parlor, you know, what's the most popular tattoo, and the guy just pointed to one, and he gives him an anarchy symbol right there on his shoulder. So every time Clayton wears a sleeveless tank top, he's making a very profound statement. And I asked him, what do you think that means? He's like, I don't know. So I miss that guy. How's this going so well? I don't know. It's a very long day. This week, you may or may not know, I got back from a vacation. I went on just a small little vacation to Indiana and Chicago. It really wasn't small. I did a lot of driving. A lot of that. And, but it was nice, actually. It was just a straight shot right up 65 into the heart of corn country in Indiana to the B-movie celebration, the B-movie festival hosted by Joe Bob Briggs, which I talked about him. And I don't want to talk about it too much because I am about to play some audio that I recorded up there. I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get to record more audio while I was on vacation. You know, for the one reason for that is because I really didn't have a lot of time. It was such a rush trip. We went up there, and I really wanted to walk around the town of Nashville, Indiana, where we were staying. I really wanted to, because it was such a pretty town. I had no idea how nice it was going to be. You know, there were just like little shops and little street corners and coffee shops, and there was like a whole just atmosphere to this town. I don't want to talk about it too much, okay? It's I think I haven't heard what I recorded last week. I'm about to play it for you, and I'm going to hear it for like the first time since I recorded it. So I don't want to step on Mike 1 week ago in the past talking about this trip. So I will play that in just a second. But yeah, we went up to Indiana and out into the country, and then we went up to Chicago for a day to see a friend of Jessica, my girlfriend, and we were there for about a day and then came back. So it was a very long trip, but it was really well worth it. It was very short, but like it was just, we packed so much into it, but we did it in such a way where it didn't feel rushed and it didn't feel exhausting. I mean, as a matter of fact, I got home from the 11.5-hour car ride and stayed up for about another hour and a half. So it really wasn't that bad. I'm going to play you some of that audio in just a second. And I really haven't, since I got home from vacation, I haven't had much time to just decompress because I've been working so much to try and get back hours that I left while on I lost while on vacation. So yeah, I worked like 11-hour days the past 3 days. So forgive me if I'm a little hoarse tonight. I hate coming on and making excuses, but I should be a little bit better next week if you are still listening. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play you this audio from the trip. Yeah, another reason I didn't record much is because I didn't have batteries, actually. I ran out of batteries the second day I was recording, and was fine with that. I wasn't really happy with what I was recording in that segment anyway, because I was like so kind of in the moment on vacation that I didn't really have time to stop and just actually reflect on it. I don't know. You know, it's like sometimes you look at Twitter, you know, and you wonder, like, people will document every step of some kind of event that they're at. Like, I'm looking on Twitter right now, and I follow Mythbusters, and Mythbusters is, like, at the Emmys, I guess, right now. I don't know if those are going on right now, but apparently, according to Twitter, they are. And these guys are kind of documenting every step of it, like walking down the red carpet and sitting in and it's just like I've tried, but I never can really be the guy who just goes to something and I have to every 5 minutes pull out my phone to talk about it on social media. And God bless the people that can, but I don't know, I just, like, last week everything was already so condensed that I was having a hard time just focusing and concentrating and trying to document it. So I would say the whole time I was in Chicago, I actually didn't do anything. I didn't take any pictures, or I don't know. I didn't have, like, a feeling to record, like to go down to the store and get batteries and record. I was just enjoying myself so much. And I really didn't want to waste a moment. So, but it's okay because I can tell you now. And also, I've got about 45 minutes to play you here. So, of field audio, so I'll see you in a few minutes. But anyway, you're listening to the Midnight Citizen Show. I'll see you back here in the studio in about 45 minutes. Oh, good morning from Nashville, Indiana. Yeah, it's about 8:30 in the morning, and I just woke up. I'm on Central Time still. That was my fault. I had no idea that Nashville, Indiana was in the Eastern Time Zone. If I had, we would have left an hour earlier yesterday. But, oh well. This is, apparently, though, Nashville is... It's one of those places that keeps switching between Central and Eastern. I was talking to some locals last night at the Playhouse where the B-movie celebration is. And they were saying that, yeah, we used to be in Central, but a couple of years ago we switched to Eastern. The governor thought it would be a good idea. And I guess so. I mean, they have the whole time zone thing because of the farmers, I guess. I don't know. It has something to do with agriculture. I've never really looked into why we have time zones. It just seems like... I always thought it was just kind of Congress one day hanging around and saying, hey, we have the authority to manipulate time. Let's do that. So I always thought that's why they did that. I don't know. So yeah, we got here and I thought we were only going to be like an hour late for the whole thing, but as it turns out, we were much later than that. We hit some pretty heavy traffic in Louisville, and there was construction on the side of the road for about 30 miles, so that managed to slow us down pretty well. I'm walking around this hotel now. I'm trying to find a good place to sit. There's all these chairs up and down the aisle, but I don't want to sit outside a room that isn't being used. I may be wrong, but I think there's only like 2 other people staying in this hotel. I only see 2 other cars in the lot. So I'm going to sit down right here. I don't think anybody's staying in that room. I hope not. The chair's a little wet. It's been very misty, soggy ride up. But yeah, we got into town last night about 8:30 or so, and had to check into this motel. I know I called it a hotel a couple minutes ago. It's a motel, but it's actually really cool. It's this is called the Green Valley Motor Lodge, and it is an old roadside motel that they've taken and renovated. And you can tell it's an old motel just because everything, like all the architecture is wood. It's not like steel or what do you call it? Or all those like the Days Inns and stuff like that, where the outdoor is made of more cheaper material. I'll have to ask the owner operator, Ed, how old this place is. You can definitely tell it's it's not older, or it was probably built, I don't know, at least pre-1970s. It has to be. I don't know. So yeah, the Green Valley Motor Lodge has kind of been renovated, and it's very clean. You go into the room, and it's not like those 2 double beds that or those 2 twin beds that are separated. It's just one big nice double bed, and really nice, thick, comfortable quilt on the bed. Oh, it's very cozy, actually. It wasn't a bad deal. It's like $80 a night. So we were looking at a lot of the other motels along the road, and they were much more than that. And Nashville, Indiana is it's a big kind of it's right next to Brown County State Park. So there's a lot of people passing through, and a lot of bed and breakfast in the town, and so we would have liked to stay at one of those, but it was a little bit out of our price range. And plus, we're really not going to have much of a time to enjoy a room because we're going to be out in the town so much today. And then, of course, tomorrow we're going to Chicago. So, but yeah, the town of Nashville, Indiana is just, to me, absolutely beautiful. I may be wrong because I didn't see much of it last night, but it's one of these towns that just has a theme. It almost looks like something that Disney World built. But, a lot like Gatlinburg or Helen, Georgia, where we went last month when we were on vacation. These very quaint small towns that exploit the fact that they're quaint small towns. So they get very touristy and just have all these kind of sloppy, gross individuals pass through them just with wide, eyes and agape mouths, just kind of looking around at all the tacky crap that you can buy. It didn't strike me as a town like that last night. It struck me as a town with a very vibrant local population, all these kind of salt of the earth people who live in the surrounding areas, and just come into town at night to get a drink or just eat at a nice local restaurant. There's a really a nice plethora of local restaurants that we're hoping to go to one of them later on and have breakfast. But yeah, like the town just has it just has this very rustic look to it, and it looks like they've tried really hard to maintain that look. We pulled into town last night, and the first thing we saw was a CVS pharmacy, but it didn't look like any CVS that we had ever seen before. It was just it was just a solid wood structure, none of that like outer concrete wall or anything like that. It was just pretty cool. That and the gas station are really the only franchises that we've seen so far. I think there was like an Exxon or I don't know, some chain gas station, but everything else was looked like it was very locally owned and everything, and it kind of, I really think that we're in corn country coming out here. We took the Interstate 65 up the whole way. It's so weird that you could just get on 65 in Birmingham, Alabama, and in like 7 hours you'll be in Nashville, Indiana. 10 hours you'll be in Chicago. It's really wild. It's kind of like I equated it to like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, being in like the circuits of time. You could just like dial into a circuit and you can go anywhere, you want to. It was really wild. Just kind of taking a little bit of a time travel, to another place in the United States, where I've never been. And yeah, once you get off 65, you only have to go about 16 miles, through the country, and the town is very pleasantly isolated, and we just went through so many, we passed so many cornfields on the way up here, just these immaculately cut, like 1 second there's a pasture, and then the next second there's acres and acres and acres of corn, and we really don't have that too much in Alabama. We have a lot of cotton fields, I guess, like up where my grandmother lives, kind of near her house, there's just wide open country with so much cotton, but it's definitely a change of scenery. And I'm looking out into this vacant parking lot that is very overgrown, and there's a sign at the front of it that says the Little Nashville Opry. So, and Ed, the owner-operator that we were talking to of this motel last night, was saying that this is, that used to be like a really big kind of concert area. It looks like an overgrown drive-in lot, actually. Just a former place with all these parking spots, and, everything is just surrounded in weeds, and there's no projection screen or anything, but he said that it's still being run by the same people, and they're trying to get money to renovate it. But he said on any given Saturday night, up until about a year ago when it closed down, there would be about 2,000 people or so out in this lot, listening to live music and all that. And he said the economy has not been very kind to them, to this town. So which he may be right about that, but I don't know. Like, going into the town last night, it seemed like it was a pretty vibrant place. You know, maybe not booming with business, but there were so many like specialty shops and, you know, just the guy who was running the concession stand last night, he said his day job was running a guitar and knife store right across the street, and he said he's in this little building. He's one store, and there's like a fudge shop and, you know, something else I can't remember, but it just looked like this. You know, one of the signs of the down economy is that there's all these franchises, but there's very little like what they would call mom and pop stores, which I don't really care for that term. I think it's kind of misleading. You know, if you say mom and pop store, I just want it to be run by like an old mom and pop, you know, from way back. You come in and they nurture you the same way they would a child. You know, they try to get you everything they want, but most of the time mom and pop stores are kind of run by like cranky old people who, you know, aren't making the kind of money they want to and can't get the help they want to because they can't afford to pay them as much as a franchise would, but, you know, whatever. So, but this town is not like that. There's so much local, you know, entrepreneurship going on in the town. I mean, again, I just drove down the main drag. I mean, Nashville, like the town itself is very compact. And I guarantee you that you could take a walk in it end to end in like about 7 minutes. And there's a couple of little offshoot streets where there's some other stuff to do, but it is a very compact place. So, but I don't know. It was, it's really cool to be here. Just in another town, you know. I really am glad that we found this small town and it's not touristy and it's so easy to get around in it, and, you know. And we went to, the first thing we did last night after we got out of the motel, because we had to get in here and just clean up a little bit, because 7 hours in the car drinking nothing but coffee, and you know, it'll and sitting in the same position, it'll definitely do wonders to your physical condition and your general attitude. It can just make you very lethargic and bloated, and you know, you'll get out just feeling like 20 pounds heavier than when you got in. So we had to get out and just kind of, you know, I changed my clothes and all that, and just kind of threw some water over my face, and you know, we just had to get to feeling a little better, like we were ready to go and, you know, be seen by people. so then we got in the car and drove down, and just in less than about 5 minutes, we were, you know, parked and walking to the Playhouse. It was like just such an expedited, easy process. There wasn't any hassle, you know, at all. It was so simple. It has been very simple so far on this vacation. You know, when we went to Georgia, and again, I may be counting my chickens here, because last time the trip was great until the second day, and we started hitting a lot of hassles and inconveniences, and mostly due to the fact that it was July 4th weekend and there was so much tourism that we were caught in the middle of. I mean, I know we were tourists. I know we were not we were not helping the problem resolve itself, but we were definitely trying to navigate our way through a bunch of people who are making it very unpleasant to be there in Georgia. So I may be counting my chickens here, but so far it's been great. I mean, it's really been nice, and just we went to the Playhouse and got our tickets, and the lady there was very nice. She recognized me as the guy from Birmingham. I really think that I may be. I thought there were going to be some people here from further away than me, you know, flying in or whatever. But no, everybody's pretty shocked when they hear that I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. And I keep telling them it's only 7 hours away. I mean, really, it was so easy to get here, other than that minor traffic jam we hit in Louisville, which, you know, stalled our trip by about an hour. it really wasn't that bad and or hard to get up here. You know, we had a full tank of gas, and we spent $30 in gas getting up here. I filled it up when it got to be about a half a tank, and that's all. I mean, it was so simple. I could, like, do this anytime, you know? I could, I don't know, have a weekend. Hey, I think I'll go up to Nashville, Indiana. Why not? It's only $30 there. So, I mean, it's really not a bad deal. Everybody keeps acting so surprised, but, oh well. But yeah, she recognized me and, you know, said hey and all that. And we had gotten there actually after the first movie had ended, which was kind of a disappointment. We missed the opening night Comet party. They were going to have a Comet party in honor of Night of the Comet, the second movie they were showing. And so we missed that, which was kind of a little bit of a letdown because that was my really good chance to meet and introduce myself to Joe Bob Briggs, you know, my true hero that I used to watch on MonsterVision on TNT, and he's really the reason, the main reason I came up here. I probably would not have come up here if it wasn't for him. And that was my one really good chance to meet him, I thought. Because it's, you know, I thought that the place was going to be a lot more packed. It was going to be a much more of a circus atmosphere. But it's, as I found out when I got there and they were between shows, it was actually a lot more of an intimate, you know, kind of experience than I originally thought. It was just so... you know, there were not really a whole lot of people. I don't know what it's going to be like tonight, or today. There may be a little bit, you know, more people here today, but I don't know. Usually with these events, it's more of like it's more of an opening night thing where everybody just kind of crowds in, and then as the weekend goes on, maybe things taper off. I mean, that's what we're going to have to do tomorrow. We can't watch any of the movies tomorrow because we're going to be going to Chicago. But yeah, they said, yeah, they're between, we were about to go into the Playhouse, and they said, yeah, they're actually at an intermission right now. But what you can do is go to this bar across the street, and they pointed, there was this like neighborhood bar across the street, and, you know, on the window it said like late night service and all that. And they said, yeah, if you go over there, everybody, you know, went to get a drink between the shows. And Joe Bob Briggs is over there, and he's just talking to everybody and hanging out. So that was great. It was it's so, you know, I need to take a second here. It really is like a very weird thing, very strange thing to hear somebody else talk about Joe Bob Briggs. You know, I always like felt that he just faded into major obscurity. I mean, he was on a major basic cable TV station in the 90s, you know, TNT. He was there. He was a fixture on that station for 4 years, and but he never really had very good ratings, which is eventually why TNT dumped him. So he was obscure, even though he was a national TV star, you know. And then after that, he faded into major obscurity, and really the only, you know, he still had a pretty strong following, but you never really talked to those people. You know, my friend Jason and I, we were definitely really big Joe Bob Briggs fans, and struggled really hard to find a lot of his old shows, and we would talk about him all the time, just like share our memories of watching him. We weren't friends back then. We didn't know each other. But that's definitely a major way that we kind of connected and became friends, was talking about old Joe Bob episodes before. And, you know, Jason had like some of them on videotape, so we would watch those. But other than that, I've never really talked to anybody else about Joe Bob Briggs, and I was telling people about this vacation, and people were wondering why I was going up to Nashville, Indiana. And I was like, oh, to go see a B-movie celebration. They were like, wait, you mean, so you're going to go watch a bunch of movies 7 hours away? I said, yeah. And of course, and then I said, and, you know, I have to explain to them Joe Bob Briggs and what he is and what he means to me and all that. And that was okay to get into a couple of times, but other times I didn't really, I just left it be with, yeah, I'm going to go watch a bunch of movies in the country. And just kind of left it with that because I didn't really want to have to explain myself. I was too tired or just didn't have enough time. So I come up here and everybody instantly knows who he is. Everybody has everybody has an idea of who Joe Bob Briggs was and is. And it was so weird to just hear the lady say, yeah, Joe Bob Briggs is over there across the street. And even weirder because when I got here, I didn't know how people were going to be referring to him because, you know, Joe Bob Briggs is, of course, a pseudonym. It's a pen name for its creator, John Bloom, who is, and I didn't know if people were going to be calling him John because it's just so weird to speak to a guy and call him by his character name. You know, it's very odd because you're speaking to somebody, you know who they are, but he's at this event in character, but he's not really in character. You know, when you look at Joe Bob Briggs, he's got, you know, he wears like this Western, shirt with the big front pockets and the bolo. But he's just a normal guy. He doesn't really talk to you in a character like the character is him. You know, he said he created Joe Bob Briggs just to kind of express things that John Bloom already believes, only a little bit more bluntly, you know. So it's very strange, and I didn't know how people were going to be, you know, speaking to him, but everybody seems to be okay calling him Joe Bob Briggs, which is just very strange to me, but but I guess that's what he's here for. You know, they hired him, not John Bloom, so I don't know. So yeah, the lady just said, go across the street there. And we went and, into this little bar, this 20-seat bar, and there he was. He was in the corner, Joe Bob Briggs, and he was wearing glasses, which was very strange. I've never seen him wear glasses before, but he is this kind of older guy. He's in his 60s, I guess maybe early 60s or so. Just kind of sitting over there. He's got kind of thinning gray hair and, just wearing, the bolo and the shirt and everything, just kind of hanging out there in the corner, and everybody's just sitting around him. And the festival organizer, Bill Dever, this kind of overweight guy, but I met him. He's really nice. Just sitting there, and they're kind of having this back and forth with each other. I guess Joe Bob Briggs is being more or less interviewed by Bill Dever, and everybody's just sitting around as if it's a campfire, just listening to the guy speak, So it's very, I don't know, it's very an intimate setting. Everybody in that bar, more or less, were the people, the attendees of the festival, and there were only about, I would say 13 or 14 people hanging around there. And it was really cool. It was just a nice experience to actually see him, just like be in the same room as this guy that I've just talked about with other people. And I've been reading his stuff for so long and watching old MonsterVision episodes. And, it's just, I don't know, it's like really cool because every time I meet a celebrity, it's never somebody I really care for. But this guy, I made kind of a pilgrimage, I guess, to see him. I came all the way up from Birmingham to intentionally see him, and then there he is, and, so it was just wild. So, there's the guy Ed over there, the owner of this place. It may be this cup of coffee, so. But yeah, Jessica and I went over to the bar and we ordered a couple of beers, and the bartender was very busy. He was just running around. It was only him on staff, I guess, and there was this one dishwasher in the back room that you kept seeing. But it was only him running around, and it took him about 5 minutes to get to us, and when I get in there, I'm kind of anxious. I want to get over and hear what Joe Bob has to say because it's a very loud bar. Like I said, there were only like 20 people in the room. And it was a very small room, and all the voices were echoing all over the place. So I could, even though Joe Bob Briggs was only about 7 feet away from me, I couldn't hear a single thing that he was saying. And there were all these people kind of crowding around him, and I couldn't see him very well. So I was kind of anxious because I wanted to get over and hear what he had to say. So finally, after about 5 minutes, the bartender comes over, and he's like, "What can I get you?" And I wanted a beer, so I asked him, "Do you have a beer menu?" Because I didn't see any beer there on the wall. You know, usually they keep it in like a cooler, so I didn't see any. And he said, yeah, he like hunts around for it. He's like, "Yes, the beer menu is, oh, right here." So he gets it, and he gives it to us, and we open it up, and I'm expecting to order right then and there. But I see him, he's instantly gone off to help a whole bunch of other people. So he goes and does all that and helps all these people. And I think after about 5 minutes, I thought he forgot us. But he finally gets to us like 5 minutes later. So it's been like 10 minutes now. He gets to us. We order our beer. And he's like, "Oh, I'm going to have to go find that one." So I wanted this this beer that they make in Indianapolis, you know, and you can only buy in Indiana, I guess. Or it's at least not distributed as far down south as Birmingham. And he has to go hunt for it. So, again, it's another 5 minutes. And then he finally gives us the beer, and I take out my card, and he's like, "Oh, I'll ring you up for that in a second." And he just walks and helps this other guy next to me has to go make a Long Island iced tea. And so we're just sitting there, and by now it's been about 15 minutes, but at least we have our beer now. So I'm just kind of waiting for him to come back so I can pay him. It's surprising to me that he can't just run the card, but I do commiserate with the guy. I feel bad for him because he's just running all over the place trying to serve everybody. So, and it's only him on staff. I can definitely relate to that, you know. I mean, when I'm at work myself, I'm the only person on the ground sometimes, and I have to, like last Saturday, a week ago today, the only thing that was keeping me going was knowing that I'm going to be, you know, going on vacation a week from, you know, then. And otherwise I would have had like a breakdown because I was helping all these people. I was like, at one point I was going back and forth between 50 different customers. You know, there were people going up on the course, people coming down, people to get harnessed up, people to get harnessed down. And it was just, you know, and then it started raining. So I had to like herd all the different groups, people who had done the course, people who aren't doing the course. And there were all these kids. So I was having to herd them into different, you know, places in the park because there was very limited room to go and take shelter. So it was just a nightmare. So I definitely could, I knew what the guy was going through, even more so, you know. So yeah, it was just a very long time before he came back to us. And in the meantime, you know, I just kind of given up on going and hearing what Joe Bob Briggs had to say because I didn't want to miss my one chance to pay the guy. Because I was looking at my clock also, and we only had about 10 minutes before the second show started, you know, when I finally got my beer. So, you know, I just needed to stand by and pay the guy. But in the meantime, though, I got to talking. This guy next to me was just there alone, and, you know, I was wondering if he was there for the film festival as well. So I just turned to him, and he was like, "What's going on across the street?" And you know, I told him all about, you know who that guy over there is? That's Joe Bob Briggs, man. He used to be on TV every Saturday night. And he's like, "Oh, I don't know." He's like, "I don't really like horror movies." And I said, "Well, it's not necessarily," he's like, "that they're too scary." I said, "It's not necessarily that, you know, they're scary. They're just fun to watch." So we talked about that a little bit. And it turned out that he was from, I think he said he was from Bloomington, Indiana. And he was in town to do this 110-mile, you know, road bike race. He said he goes all over the country just doing bike races. And this one was starting at Brown County State Park down the street. And it was really cool. I ended up talking to him for about the next 10 minutes or so while I was waiting to pay, and we just kind of got into a really nice conversation. So yeah, eventually the bartender, though, I had to like just flag him down because everybody was getting up. I saw Joe Bob leave. Everybody was going across the street, so I had to flag him down and just pay him and all that. So, But yeah, we went across the street then, and there Joe Bob Briggs was. We had missed the first couple of minutes of it because I had to pay the guy. But it was no big deal because at that point, the beer, I just chugged it down, and it was a very strong beer. It was an IPA, so I was just so desperate. I didn't want to only drink a couple of sips of this beer I just paid $5 for. So I just, swallowed it down like really quick. So I walked across the street, and I was kind of buzzing and just had this really pleasant buzz going on for being in this film festival. I felt pretty good, I walked across the street, and I just walked in this playhouse, and there Joe Bob Briggs was at the front podium, just talking about the movie we were about to watch, Night of the Comet, doing his hosting duties, which he always gives you the drive-in totals, what he calls the drive-in totals. He talks about the movie and everything that's in it, and he always talks about what the blood count in it, all the breast count in it, and the beast, the 3 Bs of the drive-in that he always calls, and got up right after they started the movie and went over to the concession counter and was really relieved that they served coffee. And they had a Keurig, so I got a coffee for me and Jessica, and we just sat down and watched the movie. It was really awesome. And after the movie was over, there was about a 30-minute intermission, so we went back across the street and to that bar and just sat down. It was a lot less crowded, and got a couple of more beers, and didn't really talk to anybody this time. Everybody's kind of just coming across and splitting up into different groups. I really wanted to. I really wanted to sit down and have a conversation with some of the other attendees of the festival and talk to them a little bit. But we just kind of decided to stay in our one group. I don't know. I had this weird social phobia after Night of the Comet. For some reason, I didn't really feel like talking to anyone. I don't know if it was because I had been up, all day long, and I had been driving, and I was tired, and it was about midnight, but I don't know. I think today will be a little bit better. Everybody there seemed to have this general sense of malaise. It wasn't necessarily the kind of party atmosphere I had hoped for, but I think everybody was just really tired and trying to just truck through the last of Friday night's marathon of movies. So, but yeah, then we went across the street. We went to to the Playhouse, and the last movie was Screwballs, which was this kind of 80s sex comedy about all these kids who kind of plot to see the breast of this one girl in the school who nobody is had been able to sleep with yet. So that's the whole plot of the movie. But yeah, Joe Bob Briggs got up and did his drive-in totals, and this is the one sad thing about it. At the end of Joe Bob's speech, after he finished introducing the movie, he got up and he was there with someone. I don't know if it was his wife or his assistant or someone. But she got up and got her purse, and he left. Joe Bob left after the start of the midnight show. I was really wanting to sit in a theater all night long with Joe Bob Briggs and, watch this movie. At that time, there were only 15 other people in the theater. Everybody else had left. And so we were just sitting in there. I was just sitting in there with all these other people. A lot of them were alone. Watching this movie. I was there with Jessica. I felt good about being the only one in there with a girlfriend. And, everybody else just kind of was watching this movie, and I was sad. Nobody seemed to care that Joe Bob left, but I was very disheartened by the fact that he couldn't stay up like the rest of us. He was the first guy to fall asleep, leave the theater, So hopefully he'll stay in it a little bit more for today. I don't know. But that's the part where I just kind of came to grips with the fact that Joe Bob may not necessarily be the guy I've always built him up to be, and I knew that it was going to be like that. I knew there was going to be a little bit of disappointment that came with meeting your idol, I mean, how can there not be? It's impossible. You know, you build somebody up over so many years. I mean, I've known about Joe Bob Briggs now for almost 20 years. And, you know, you spend so much time thinking about a guy and, like, watching his stuff and reading his stuff, and you just build up this image of him. And even though you tell yourself it's not going to be what you thought it was, you still have this inkling of hope that he's going to be this guy who can stay up all night long and watch all these bad movies with you and laugh at them. But ultimately, you know, he's an old guy. You know, he's much older than I am, and he just kind of got up and couldn't really take it anymore, and left with that girl he was with. So, but it was okay. It, you know, yeah, the movie got out about 1:30, and there was actually a guy in front of us in the front row. He fell asleep. He just kind of, the lights came up and his head was just slumped full over, and he didn't wake up. Everybody else was getting up, and he was the only one left in the theater after everybody had gone. Kept waiting for an usher to go down and just kind of nudge him and say, the show's over. Go home. But maybe he was staying there. Maybe he had some kind of deal worked out with management. I don't know. Could stay in there all overnight. I don't know. So, yeah, we came out and just everything in the town was closed. And since it had rained earlier that day, you know, there was like this really, you know, cool, like kind of mist coming down. All this, I don't know, it just, it was very foggy, and the air just felt very, you know, misty. So it was like a really cool moment just coming out of this theater at 1:30 in the morning in this like small town in Indiana, just walking around. So, but today is day 2, and I don't think we're going to go see the first movie. I think they're starting with like Hard Bodies, which is another 80s sex comedy. So I don't really know if I'm in the mood for another sex comedy right now. But later on today, they are showing like some movies I want to go see. They're showing The Last Starfighter, which I haven't seen in years. They're showing, let me see, Buckaroo Banzai, which I'd like to see again. Repo Man, of course, they're showing at 9 o'clock tonight. I'd definitely like to see that one. But yeah, so far, just like the standout of coming here was just walking into this bar and, you know, just seeing Joe Bob Briggs and hanging around him. I don't know, it was cool. But, yeah, I mean, I never talked to him, though, and I don't know, I guess I would have felt weird about it. Again, just try not to, like, let my idols disappoint me, I guess. I don't know, I don't think he'll disappoint me or anything. I think I'll disappoint myself, because I don't want to go up to him and just be like another asshole fan and ask him for an autograph and everything. And you know, last night, before the start of the midnight show, Jessica and I were in there, and Joe Bob was just sitting around. His entourage had left him. And he was just, you know, there, like, pretty much alone, just, I think, with that girl he was with, either his wife or his assistant or someone. And he was just there, and Jessica just nudged me and just kind of said, very quietly, because if she said it too loud, the guy would have heard me. He was about 20 feet away from us in the theater. And she said, why don't you just go and introduce yourself? Go, you know, do you have your book with you? You want to get his autograph? And I was like, no. She said, why not? You came all the way up here. This is what you wanted. And I said, not necessarily. I told her, like, I just want to hang out and, like, watch a movie in the same room as the guy, you know. I don't want to really necessarily talk to him. And she said, why not? And I said, why? I mean, because, I mean, it's like, for me, it's like meeting Walt Disney. It's like meeting this, you know, I've built up such a mystique about this guy. I really don't want to, you know, talk to him. I'm afraid I'm going to ruin it. I'm afraid that if it's a bad experience, you know, every time I think about Joe Bob Briggs after this day, I'm just going to think about the time I was a total moron when I met him, you know. I don't know. It's just a natural fear that I have, you know. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to my idols, you know. But So I didn't talk to him. Maybe, I don't know, maybe if I'll see him, I just want it to be kind of a natural experience. I want to bump into him and say, hey, yeah, you, shake his hand, and that'll be that, you know? I don't know. It was so simple. At one point he got up to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, man, I could go, like, take a leak next to Joe Bob Briggs right now. That would be a little weird, though, so I don't know. Oh, boy, but, yeah, day two. Let's see how it goes. All right. Channel 18. That was TNT. That was the channel of MonsterVision. And, watching that network. I would flip back and forth between Channel 18 and Channel 16 USA. Rhonda up all night. And, Gilbert Gottfried. He would be on Friday nights. They would always show sex comedies like Screwballs or Hard Bodies or whatever. So, well, welcome back to the Midnight Citizen Show, and I've switched to beer now. So yeah, I did a little Joe Bob Briggs there and got up during that while that was playing. I still listened to a lot of it, and but I had to get up and get some coffee because I did fall asleep for a short time while I was playing. I was too tired. So I got this coffee. I was out of Keurig coffee, but I was at a cigar store earlier, and the guy was selling Keurig coffee there, and I just asked him, can I just get a K-cup? And he starts to make me a cup of coffee. I'm like, no. Can I get a K-cup? I'll take it home and make it. So, I guess that was an unusual request, but he allowed me a K-cup, and I just made it in my Keurig. So, it's this Caribou blend. Oh, by the way, I talked a while back that I got Jessica a pound of David Lynch coffee, just house blend, for her birthday, kind of as a gag gift. But I don't know if I ever reviewed that. That is really good coffee. And I'm saying really good because I don't want to say damn good just to be cute as a Twin Peaks reference, but it is really damn good coffee. I would highly recommend it. I mean, I know David Lynch just pays a company to put his name on it, but it's still very good. It's the David Lynch house blend coffee. I don't know, you have to order it. But it was only like, after I ordered it and shipping and handling and everything, it was only like $15 for a pound of coffee, which you're going to pay for that at the supermarket anyway. But I had some last night, and it was the first time I'd actually made any since I went on my camping trip a few weeks ago. And it was, I don't know, I went to go get dinner, and then I came home and made some, and it was just this perfectly black, just fine cup of Joe. It was just good. I don't know how to explain it. I should have made some just now to properly review it. I'll do it on the next episode, if I still have some. So, whoa, watch out. I'm going back into it. Alright, well, welcome back to the show, and yes, I did have some experiences that day, and I recorded them. I woke up Sunday morning the following day after after that segment I just recorded, and I recorded for about 30 minutes, and then the battery ran out, so it was an incomplete recording. And I just went ahead and deleted it anyway. I didn't feel like it was, I was really too tired after... I was even more tired on Saturday than I was Friday after having driven. But Saturday was just a busy day from beginning to end. We decided to skip the first movie. We went to... the first movie was that Hard Bodies. And we decided to skip that and go to the state park, which was very close to Nashville, Indiana. And it was beautiful. You know, it was just a really cool state park. And, of course, everybody said go to the state park. They have zip lines. And I work at a zip line, so I never really want to go to a zip line. But I was still curious just to see how other places run their operation. Well, we can get there, and there's no zip line, okay? There is a zip line nearby, but it's not in the state park. You have to go someplace else for it. So I just said, forget it, but we'll go around anyway. So, yeah, we drove around the state park for about an hour. And it was really cool. They had this one tower. It was about 90 feet tall. It was a former fire tower, but now it was functioning as a radio station. Not like a commercial, like FM or AM radio station. It was just a radio tower to communicate with other rangers and other places around the county. And so we got on that and climbed it all the way up to the top. And, of course, you get up there and the trap door is locked, so you can't go. That's the whole reason I wanted to go up there, because I was really interested in this like radio equipment that they were using. But yeah, you couldn't get into it, and you just had to. But you did have this amazing, just unobstructed view of the county. The Indiana doesn't really have mountains like the South does. It's very flat land, but they still have just this beautiful landscape of just of greenery there that expands like far off. I mean, it's all obviously, like I said, flat land, so you can see a lot more of it. You know, but it was great because we went down and there were all these people passing us, and we didn't tell them that there was really nothing at the top except an overlook, because everybody wanted to go up and see the tower and what was in the tower. So we had to listen to about 5 or 6 people go up to the top and then just very audibly say, "Oh man, shit." They just climbed 90 feet to do nothing. But what are you going to do? It's an amazing outlook, so. So yeah, and we went to the nature center, and we were just walking around in there. They had like this place, like the stuff that you find in Brown County. They had like different animals on display. They had this fox that was stuffed, and it looked so real that I kept looking into its eyes to see if it was actually going to move its head. But they had these like copperheads on display too. They had copperheads up there. They said that's like the most prominent snake that you're going to find in Indiana. And I had never really seen a copperhead up close. I've seen them in running. I've run away from copperheads before. But they're these very sociable animals. They just like slither up and just kind of curl up next to each other. So you see, this one big, long shaft that's a snake, but it's actually 2 because they're just curled up next to each other in cohabitation. So that's what we decided. That's what we wanted to do with our day. We wanted to like just kind of pick and choose the movies that we wanted to see, and because I didn't want to spend the whole day cooped up inside a movie theater, and I knew that before we were even there. And when I went into the place, into Nashville and into the surrounding county, it was just so nice and, just so relaxing to be there that I just wanted to, I really wanted to spend more time walking around the town than I did in the theater. So for most of the afternoon, we did that. We skipped the first movie, and then Jessica, she didn't really get a lot of sleep the night before, so she wanted to go back to the hotel room and just lay down for a couple hours. So she dropped me off at the theater, and I watched The Last Starfighter, which I hadn't seen, again, since the early 90s when it was on the Disney Channel, Channel 27, and they would show it. And this is one of those movies that's like all about kind of the early age of video games. Not really the early age, but it was the classic age of arcade games. This kid lives in a trailer park, and he plays like this cabinet game called Starfighter. And he's so good at it that this alien, played by Robert Preston, the guy who did The Music Man, that movie, 76 trombones, with Ron Howard was in that movie, right? But yeah, this alien comes down and says, hey, I designed that game specifically to recruit a human to come and help me fight the evil galactic overlords. So he brings them up to space, and they fight all these guys and all that. So, but that was a pretty good movie. It was very cheesy, very much made for kids. But it was followed by The Toxic Avenger, which was not made for kids. And I've never... that's one of those trauma movies. I've never really been able to like get in line with those. Those trauma movies just really disturb me, and they're just trashy, and I don't mind trashy. I'm okay with trashy as long as it's done in good taste. But, they're just gory and gross, and they're not well made, which, again, that's okay. If a movie's not well made, it just has to be fun to watch. And The Toxic Avenger, I've just never really found that movie fun to watch. So I watched that for about 20 minutes. I texted Jessica at the beginning of it. I wanted to see Joe Bob's introduction. And, of course, Joe Bob Briggs gets up there and he gives a good introduction and all that. And I just kind of, say to Jessica, okay, let's go get some lunch. So Jessica comes and picks me up, and, we spend about the next hour and a half just walking around the town before Buckaroo Banzai. And again, just Nashville is just a really beautiful town, and I really cannot stress it enough. And I actually wrote a blog this week. If you've been onto the MidnightCitizen.com, I wrote a blog which was detailing my trip a little bit better and just how much I fell in love with the town, almost to the point where I kind of feel like I should move there. And I don't know. It's just one of these things where, like 5 or 6 years ago, I always tell myself, Birmingham is my city. This is the city I love. It's small. It's my dog laying down next to me. It's just a small city, but it's also, you can get stuff done in it. It has a really cool cultural scene. All my friends are here. I have roots here. And now, about 5 years later, it's just, I kind of feel like there's a little bit more to be had, and maybe I need to be a little bit more mobile to see what else is out there. And that's kind of the thinking lately, because honestly, like, I'm out of school. There's nothing to hold me here anymore professionally, and I'm not held down with anything. I work a job, but it's not a job where I get benefits or anything, and I make an okay living at it. I can live comfortably, but it is very much a dead-end job. I've been promoted as much as I can be promoted at that job. None of my immediate bosses are leaving anytime soon. I'm not really qualified to step into their positions, even if they did. So I'm really faced with this thing where it's like I know exactly where my life is heading at the moment, unless I get a teaching job, which I'm qualified to do, but I can't get a teaching job. I mean, I just can't find one here in Alabama, and I've tried. I've really tried. So this really fell at maybe a really good time for me, where I'm thinking about relocating. I'm thinking about going someplace else, to go to this town that's very small and very welcoming. I just felt like I actually lived there for the 2 days that I was there. It's just, everybody was so nice and so generous, and it felt like a town that, again, it was a small town, and it did have this air of like, this is where city people come on the weekends to get away from it all and shop in all the crafts stores and, like all the small town touristy places. It did have an old-timey photo booth, and, it had that typical kind of tourism thing you do where you go and you shop at all these local art stores, but it still had enough of a local flavor. That bar that we went into across the street from the Brown County Playhouse where the festival was just a towny bar. It was just a place where you could go and just grab a drink, and it wasn't overrun by karaoke and just these people trying to, ordering drinks off the menu that had pictures of the drinks on it. That's kind of a classic thing when you go to like a touristy bar and they just have these novelty drinks on there. No, it was just like, it was just a standard bar. Just go in there and grab a few drinks, and it just wasn't crowded. And I was asking the lady that we were talking to at the Playhouse. I mean, it just seems like I just told her, it seems like you guys in Nashville have a really good operation going on. I mean, what's the downside? I mean, do you guys have like a lot of tourism? Or you overrun at certain parts of the year? And she said, no. Most of the year's like this. It's moderately crowded on weekends. People from Bloomington, Indiana come here. Bloomington is the town about... it's about 12 miles down the road. That's where the University of Indiana is. And she said it does get a little overrun sometimes. In October specifically, it becomes very touristy because we have a lot of fairs that go on here. But she said other than that, it's really very plain Jane. It's a cool place. I mean, Saturday morning we went and got brunch at this pretty cool coffee shop. And it is a very artsy town. It was founded as an art colony where this place it was used as like a lumber depot in the 1800s. They would come and just plant trees. 60 years later, go and chop them all down, plant more trees, and then repeat the cycle. And in one of those cycles where they're waiting for all the trees to grow back in, where they can harvest them all these artists just started coming there, and they started escaping all the Midwestern cities like Chicago and Indianapolis, and they just started coming into this little town to just get away from everything and just to paint and to write and do all that. And it's remained to this day a very bohemian escape kind of place. And it is like that. I know, if you do that kind of thing in the city, you're considered a hipster or whatever. But this coffee shop is really the only place where I got that vibe that it was a town for very artsy, kind of judgmental 20-somethings. It just seemed like a very mature town. It seemed like a quiet town, a place where you could just come and just live a very plain, ordinary, mild-mannered lifestyle, but still function, still make money, still make a career. And I get this because I've been doing research, just seeing what the local economy is like, what the town is like, seeing if there's any jobs. And it seems really like I can make the same kind of living up in a place like Nashville, Indiana, as I can down in Birmingham, Alabama. From what I can tell, the property rates are the same. I was looking at a few apartments that are exactly the same as I'm paying right now for my apartments. And, I know you say, okay, well, you can't get a job down here in Alabama. You're probably not going to be able to get a job up there. And you may be right. I mean, teaching, I'm actually more likely to get a job down here in Alabama as I am in Indiana, because Alabama has a lot more school districts where I am. I'm very centrally located in the state. I can go 4 or 5 counties around me that border Jefferson County where I live, and they're very accessible by car. I can go and I can drive 20 minutes and be in 2 counties over. So, yeah, I have a lot of job options that could become available, as opposed to where I would be if I were to move to Nashville, Indiana. you really are right there in the middle of Brown County, right there in the middle of corn country, where there is 15 miles of highway on either side separating you from the closest school districts. And that leaves basically Brown County elementary, junior, and junior high and high school. And I can't teach elementary. I'm not certified for that. So junior and high school, and I looked for job openings, and there aren't any right now. So it would be very dire. You know, it would be hard. I wouldn't be able to get a teaching job, most likely, because, you know, teaching jobs, in most districts, the people who have them tend to hold on to them until they retire. And it's a little dire. I mean, that's the problem I'm facing in Alabama right now. All the teaching jobs that are actually becoming available are the ones in country high schools where, you know, the teachers kind of use them as a stepping stone to get to something else. And that's really the best option available to me in Alabama right now. So I really don't know. I mean, I could go up there and become a substitute teacher. I could do that and make $71 a day as a certified teacher, subbing. I could use my other degree. There's always that possibility that I could actually use my communications degree that I got from the University of Alabama and go to work for a radio station. I looked at some of those. There's actually a few radio stations in Brown County where I could work as like an account executive, or I could work as a producer, or even an announcer. I saw one, they were looking for a morning announcer, which I don't want to do. I mean, I know I do this show, but like it or not, it is an amateur show, and I don't think I'm ready yet. But, you know, and then there's some other stuff I could do. I could go to work for a TV station. Or I could go and work in a coffee shop, and you know, after I left Starbucks a few years ago, I swore to myself that I would never, ever again serve coffee or, you know, just work at a cash register ever again. It's just something I'm never going to do. And so far, I've kept up to that bargain, but it's only been a couple of years. So, no, I take that back. It's been 4. So there you go. So I've just been working, not to bring this on the show, but I've been working this out all week. I don't have to move to Nashville, Indiana, but it just got me, this vacation was very good for me. You know, it got me out of Birmingham. It got me to see other places in the country that always seemed so far out of reach. And now I think maybe I might be able to actually, you know, move somewhere, and Jessica's up for it. And, I don't know. I think the cat and the dog are also. So, yeah, I don't know. It may happen. It may never happen, but it may happen 2 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. But I think I've got this kind of urge in me now to see what else is out there. And honestly, if it like doesn't work, that's fine. But I think the greater problem and the greater crime is to not do anything, continue working my dead-end job. Maybe I'll get a teaching job next year, maybe I won't, but I'll be another year older, and I think I'm still in that point in my life where I'm able to make mistakes, and if I'm very careful about those mistakes, you know, even if they are very bad mistakes and they hurt me, I think I'm still early enough in my life to use my youth and use my energy to recover from them very well. See, some people, they get old and they make mistakes and they don't have the kind of energy or means of supporting themselves any longer to recover from them. And I don't know, I think that I should use my, you know, use myself, even if it's for the bad, even if it is a mistake. Just see what I could get out of still being young, you know? So I don't know if this has made any sense at all. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the B Movie Festival. So yeah, the Saturday night was really great watching these 3 movies. Buckaroo Banzai, which I walked out of that movie toward the end because I had seen it so many times and I never understand that movie. I'm not going to get into but that's a weird movie. And after the movie let out, everybody else was coming out and just saying, I love that movie, but what the hell goes on in it? It's just one of those things. So Buckaroo Banzai, after that movie was over, I finally got to have my picture taken with Joe Bob Briggs. You know, Jessica actually ended up going over to him because I was a little shy. But he was a nice guy. If you'll look at the cover art, he's huge. He's like a towering monster. I had no idea. He shook my hand and like it just engulfed my wrist. It was just a... But he was the nicest guy, he really was, and I think I said the bare amount to him. You know, I'm not nervous about making an ass out of myself in front of Joe Bob Briggs. What I'm nervous about, I really could give a shit about what he thinks about me. But what I don't want is clearly after the festival was over, I knew after it was all over that I was still going to really love Joe Bob Briggs and just love what he's contributed to my life and, you know, how he's inspired me and everything and everything that he's made and done. I would still really love all that. And I didn't want to taint the experience of any kind of Joe Bob Briggs related experience from then on out with the memory of just acting like a goofus in front of him, you know? But I said, hey, I'm Mike, this is Jessica. The worst thing that happened was Jessica gave the woman he was with, which was his assistant, I found out, Jessica gave her her phone, and it froze up, so it took like 30 seconds to get a picture, which was kind of embarrassing. But Joe Bob Briggs was like, no, it's okay, it's okay. I actually told him, don't worry about it, we'll do it later. So, but we got the picture with him. Didn't get to speak to him much. However, between Repo Man and the last show that we were going to see at the festival, the midnight show Saturday night, which was Silent Night, Deadly Night, I'm actually about to play you the intro that Joe Bob did before that. I did get to talk to him a little bit. Jessica and I went to the bar across the street to have one last beer before the movie. And there was still a little bit of time before the movie was going to start, so we went back across the street to the Playhouse. And all of these people, about 4 or 5 people, were just kind of congregating around Joe Bob, just talking to him. And it was really the first time in the festival, other than the first night, that he was actually just sitting around talking to people. Because he was kind of a guarded guy. I could tell his assistant was there, but she wasn't filtering people from talking to him. He was a very accessible guy, but I could tell he was just this type of guy who probably, from 20, 25 years of being in this whole horror movie community, has seen a lot of weird people and a lot of very kind of pseudo-psychotic behavior from these fans. These horror movie fans can be obsessive and very... if you don't know them personally, they could exhibit behavior that may be a little, not really only bizarre, but kind of dangerous, So I'm sure he's seen his share of these guys over the past. So that's really my theory as to why he was kind of guarded during this whole thing, and he wasn't really talking to people or making an effort to talk to people. Unless the festival organizer, Bill Dever, was there, or unless his assistant was there. Because I'm sure he's just met a lot of people in his time who are like that, who will come over to him and try to engage him in these conversations as if they're his best friend, and all the while they're really freaking him out and kind of scaring him a little. So, but that's my theory. But he was just sitting around, we were all just talking to him about, all these actors in B movies that seem to have, vanished into the fabric, and they make one or two movies and that become cult hits, and thousands and millions of people see them over the years. But nobody knows what happens to the actual actors because they quit the film business and they couldn't get a career that sustains their lives. And we were just talking about that, and it was really cool. I asked him about, I remember I was listening to a commentary of his a while back, and he was talking about one such actor on that commentary, and I just asked him if if he knew, to his knowledge, if they had ever found that guy, because I was always really curious. This guy who was in this movie, The Incredibly Strange Creatures Who Stopped Living and Became Mixed Up Zombies, had come over from Greece and learned all of his lines in this American movie phonetically. And he seemed to work so hard at being in this movie, and after the movie was over, he made like one more and then vanished, and nobody knew what happened to him. So, we were just talking about that. And to Joe Bob's knowledge, they never found the guy. So, but what he did say, though, is that there was an actor in the movie I Spit on Your Grave, which was this very controversial movie. Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel were famous for hating it more than any other movie they had ever seen up to that time. It was about this woman who goes out to the country to write a book, and she ends up being terrorized by these three guys, these three locals. And the head local, the head guy who terrorizes her, had just disappeared, and apparently he was very ashamed of the movie and just kind of disappeared into the background. And Joe Bob said that he had, done a commentary for I Spit on Your Grave, which I have heard. I heard that years ago. And, he put it out there. He said, just in joking, if anybody out there knows what happened to this guy, let me know, write in. And this guy who was going to this acting school, this very prominent acting school on the East Coast, wrote into Joe Bob and said, hey, that guy is now a fight instructor at my theater school. And every year before classes begin, before we're all going to take class from this guy, we get together and watch I Spit on Your Grave behind his back. So the next day in class, the first day, everybody's listening to him read the course syllabus, and people are giggling and chuckling and everything at this guy. So that he probably thinks he has like the funniest syllabus ever. So, but it was really cool just to talk to Joe Bob about that, actually like have a human moment with him and interact with him. And, I don't know, I guess we get too obsessed, and I get too obsessed with celebrity culture and actually interacting, but when you're talking to somebody who means like a lot to you, I had the same feeling. I didn't get to meet him, but when I was in the same room with Stephen King about 8 years ago or so, you just get this kind of feeling in you that like you have a hard time processing it, that this is somebody who you've been watching on the media for years and years, or you've been reading his books, and suddenly he's right there, and it's almost like you start processing all the stuff that he's been in and all the stuff that you've seen him in, but it's a different thing when you actually see them up close, and you actually hear them talking for the first time, and they're not talking to millions and millions of people. They're actually right there having a conversation that's just meant for you and a few other people to hear. And it's a weird feeling. I don't really have it that much because I'm not one of these guys. I don't chase down celebrities. I don't obsess over trying to meet them, because honestly, what can you say to them that they haven't heard before? But I in that moment, I definitely got the feeling that I was having a conversation with Joe Bob Briggs along with a few other people that he doesn't really have that often, So I don't know, it just felt like the whole film festival, I really got to thank Bill Dever this guy in like this kind of tacky shirt who was walking around all weekend just for putting on this event, because it was a very intimate, for hardcore fans only kind of thing. And I don't really consider myself a hardcore B-movie fan, but I guess maybe I did a pretty good idea of posing it, because all the stuff he was talking about I knew, and maybe I am a B-movie fan. I don't know. But Bill Dever continually came up to me and thanked me. And, Sunday morning when we couldn't go to any of the movies that day, but, Sunday morning, we went into Nashville to eat breakfast. And, after it, we were just walking by the Playhouse, and I told Jessica I just want to stop by and tell all the people goodbye, because I'd actually gotten to know, the owner of the Playhouse, or the lady who runs it. I'd gotten to speak to her and I, several times, and I just wanted to say thank you. You've been very accommodating. And Bill Dever saw me, and he came out and shook my hand for like the 14th time and just said thank you. And then a couple of days later, after the festival was over, he sent me a Facebook message that said, thanks again for coming out. Because Jessica and I, other than this couple from Virginia, had driven the longest distance to get there. And I think he was just really flattered by that. So I told him, yeah, we'll definitely try to get out there next year. And, yeah, it wasn't necessarily the B-movie festival that just made me fall in love with this town. Just in a way I never really have a place where I've been on vacation before. I just kind of felt like I looked at this place, I was like, I think I could live here. I think I could actually exist here. I don't know. It's just a wild thing to do that, to actually stand in a place and be like, I have never been here before, but I feel like I know this. Like, the only other time I actually have gotten that feeling was in Savannah, Georgia, where we went there and everybody there was just like so nice. And the city, it's something about the city. The city is like planned out so perfectly that you walk around it, and there are touristy parts, but then there's like actual local towny parts where you can go, and you just, you feel like the layout of the city so well that in 2 days of being in Savannah, Georgia, I felt like I lived there. It's like just a strange feeling, And I've come back home, and I've gotten this homesick almost feeling about it. Like, I really feel very, sick that I'm not there anymore, almost. As a matter of fact, I was listening to the audio that I'm about to play you, just of Joe Bob Briggs introducing this Saturday night movie, the late night movie, at the Brown County Playhouse, and I was just like, damn. I want to go back there. I feel like I'm back there right now just by listening to this audio. And it just brought back this feeling, not necessarily being at the Playhouse and being at the festival, but just of being in this town that by that time I'd been in for a day and a half, and I felt just like so cozied up to, and I was just in this attitude and this mood that I really want to recreate again. And I don't know. So let me play you this. And I'm going to get out of here. I've been speaking now for a while, and been working all day, and I got to go. All right. So I'm going to play this, and it's going to play us out. Thanks a lot for listening to the Midnight Citizen Show. And that car thanks you too that just drove by. I'll see you next week. Keep your eyes open.
November 9th, 1984, and Silent Night, Deadly Night outgrossed Nightmare on Elm Street until everybody got their panties in a bunch and the protests started And as Justin said, the posters started coming down, the advertising campaigns disappeared, and some of the theaters actually did pull the picture. There was just too much heat on the picture. TriStar Pictures, which released it, ran the trailer as a TV ad. And in one market, they ran it right before Little House on the Prairie. And the parents just flipped out. And so there were protesters outside the theaters. Siskel and Ebert both said that the movie was disgusting. And TriStar caved in. And 2 weeks after its release, it was pulled entirely. It was out of every theater. But obviously went on to become a cult classic, and it spawned the 4 sequels. And it was remade in 2012, so there's actually been 6 of these. And, you know, the 2012 remake I'm not a big fan of. You know, they should have protested that one, actually. But, so, anyway, the original Silent Night, Deadly Night, which we're going to watch tonight, kicks off with crazy grandpa terrorizing little apple-cheeked Billy by telling him Christmas Eve is the scariest damn night of the year, and that Santa will punish him. Next thing, a psycho Santa robs a store, then murders Daddy and rapes and murders Mommy, while a traumatized Billy hides in the bushes. So little Billy is sent to a Catholic orphanage where one of the nuns wants to get him therapy, but Mother Superior decides to just beat it out of him instead, and tells him if he's not a good boy, Santa will be mean to him. So, of course, little Billy becomes clinically Santa-phobic. Then 17-year-old Billy is working at a toy store, and he's doing okay until he has to fill in for Santa. And he sees the girl he likes getting molested by a coworker, and that, of course, is naughty. And pretty soon, Billy's making like G.I. Joe, and he starts turning people into Tinker Toys. So those drive-in totals are, we got 13 dead bodies, we got 25 breasts, we got knife murders, we got Santa punching, we got axe foo, we got hammer foo, we got Billy screwing one guy into the electric light sockets on his tree, we've got a bow and arrow through the garbanzos, we've got Linnea Quigley, in probably the most famous image from the movie, getting impaled on deer antlers after she has sex with her boyfriend on a pool table. Heads roll. Plus, there's a great scene with a box cutter where Billy says, "Punishment is necessary, Pamela. It is good." And of course, Santa Foo, starring Lillian Chauvin as the Mother Superior, who says, "There is no Santa Claus." And Robert Brian Wilson as Billy. I don't think Robert Brian Wilson had any career after this, did he? I mean, I hope he did, but I never saw Robert Brian Wilson again. But he does a great job as Billy.
He did a soap opera after.
He did what?
He did a soap opera after for a little while.
Soap operas. Okay, went to the soap opera world, which, yeah, that won't bring you back. Okay, 4 stars. Joe Bob says, check it out.